Your Monday morning continues with Michael Patrick Shields, the story of the day. Coach Mark D'Antonio, Michigan State Spartans, having a heart episode. Was it a heart attack? Was it a heart event? Doesn't matter. He'll be back in action in a couple of weeks. Everybody says all systems go, but still, everyone was surprised at what happened. And Fred Heumann, the sports director for WLNS TV, is around Mark D'Antonio all the time and a veteran sportscaster. And he's with us this morning. Good morning to you.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
Did you observe Coach D'Antonio after the game? Were you up close and personal with him?
Well, no, actually, this is one of the first games in 8 years I missed.
Oh,
because I was out with I was at the stadium and then left before the game even started, which is very rare for me.
mm-hmm.
And so I'm watching on television and watching that frantic finish.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm with people who are big Spartan fans at a social event, in a game that almost gave them a heart attack. And that would sound like a pun normally, and then you think about the coach in the middle of the night or right from the stadium going to the hospital and literally having a heart attack. And that word heart attack is so scary, Mark, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, though, that while I don't have a medical background, heart attack, the word, has taken on such a different meaning in the last 20 years. 20 years ago, you'd think, oh, my goodness. But I know so many people, personally and in this profession, that if they are fortunate, and I use that term strangely,
mm-hmm.
fortunate enough to find a blockage, and they have these stents put in, that several people I've known that say that it's like they're like a new person. So it's almost like you're lucky when you have this episode to catch the blockage, because those blockages are not easily detectable. EKG, you do a stress test or a yearly checks, they don't necessarily tell you about the blockage. So if you have this episode, it's almost like your good fortune to get it fixed, if you know what I mean, because everyone I know that has had this stent placed in, it's like they're new people, and so that's the good news on Mark D'Antonio. They caught it, they fixed the blockage, they put this stent in, and when he recovers and takes the time, he'll be as good as new and probably in better health than he was a week ago.
When you saw him on television in that post-game interview in the middle of the field there, did you think that it was unusual, or was it business as usual? Is that how he always is?
Oh, I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
It was a little bit strange because you expected him to go crazy, and he was just kind of matter of fact. But that's Mark D'Antonio. That's his personality, and that's what's so strange about this is that, and Mark Hollis echoed this last night when I spoke with him, of any coach he has, and he didn't name any names, but the last one he would figure to have a heart attack would be his football coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll expand that and say of all the people I cover, if I made a list, you threw out the number, 200, 500, if I had to list people that I would think would have a heart attack, D'Antonio would be at the bottom of the list. He takes care of himself. He's in excellent condition. He exercises regularly. He eats right. They even changed the menu in the dormitory where they all eat a few years ago to reflect a healthier menu, for him and his team. I mean, he's taken all the necessary precautions. He just had a blockage that was non-detectable. Now, I don't know the history there. If he didn't get the standard checkup, if because he's so busy being a football coach, he delayed that. I don't know that yet. But I know that he takes wonderful care of himself. He's in almost perfect condition, and you would never think this would happen to him.
How do you think the team will respond now? They're going to be without him this weekend at least, and maybe even past that for a week or two.
Yeah, that's a good question, because I think anytime you lose a leader and a guy that has a presence that D'Antonio has, and a guy that they rely on, as much as they try to posture that it's business as normal, it's not business as normal. And, Don Treadwell is a very capable man. He'll do all the right things, but he's not Coach D'Antonio. And any time if you have a solid ship like D'Antonio has and everything's in place and then you disrupt it, it's going to affect the team. I think they're fortunate that Wisconsin and Michigan are not the next two games. Mm-hmm. With all due respect to Northern Colorado, I mean, this is a game they should win, probably will win. You and I could coach it, and they'd probably win this game on Saturday. But then you have, the big games. The Big Ten starts. Wisconsin and Michigan are two of the biggest games on their schedule. and I would be very doubtful that he's back for Wisconsin. Who knows about Michigan? But, I can tell you, in talking to Mark Hollis last night, the magnitude of the game obviously will have no effect on his return. In fact, Hollis, I joked with him, I said, you have no say in this, do you? It's up to the doctors and Becky D'Antonio, who will put her foot down and make sure that her husband, who probably feels that he's vacating the team, that he'll want to come back in 4 days, and that ain't going to happen.
Fred Heumann, thanks so much for the chat this morning.